You mentioned that you can attempt to triangulate a time period by using several different methods. What are those methods?
Okay, so we look at pottery, coins, because when you have a new person in power, it'll say year 3 of, and then we also can use scarabs. The Latin word scarabus means beetle, and so what we have are each one of these in the shape of a beetle.
Look at that.
What you have is each pharaoh, when he comes to power, he creates his own iconography for that administration. So we have very good dates in Egypt, and no future pharaoh ever uses that same iconography. So when we can get a scarab in a clear archaeological context, we can use it to date everything else. All of these scarabs would have had gold on it, so at some point before these scarabs were discarded, somebody pulled the gold off of them. But this one, it got left behind. So you can see how beautiful this would have been.
Yeah.
We do get them down into the Iron Age. At Khirbet el-Makadar, we found one from the Iron II period, Samtik scarab, which was the first one ever found here in Israel, so it was pretty significant. So there are a very, very valuable means of dating.
There's a school of thought that increasingly doesn't believe that the United Monarchy existed. They think that the stories of Saul and David and Solomon are propaganda pieces for an Israel government. With all the time that you've spent researching and digging in Israel, what do you think about that theory?
Well, we have two schools of thought. We have the minimalists, which are saying, well, they existed, but it wasn't exactly what the Bible describes. Then we have another group, mythicists, that are just total deniers, that it didn't even happen at all. We have found the opposite. We have found in the material culture, if the Bible says that there was a river, we can find the river. If there was a mountain, a city was in a certain place, we find just many, many synchronisms that passes the smell test. It's what you would expect to see from the literary description that you have. And so we have found just a lot of direct synchronisms between the archaeological data and the biblical text.
The time that you've spent researching and digging and exploring the physical material is that it's reinforced your faith.
Right. I was a Christian before I began excavating, so it did not bring me to faith, but it never scared me to examine the tough questions. Sometimes we do have questions where we scratch our heads, but in archaeology we say that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Just because something happened, let's say a city was burned and we can't find evidence of it, well, a lot of things could have happened to that burn. Wind and rain and future peoples could have scraped the foundations clean. We've only excavated about 5% of the land of the Bible. 95% is still underground. And so when we do have some sort of gap between what we expected when we read the text and what we find in the culture, you think there might be some clues in the other 95%.
There's some potential there.
Our direct goal is not to prove the Bible or to bring people to Christ, but in the process, is there an apologetic function of archaeology? You better believe there is, and it comes across all the time.
I think it was important to start with the archaeological piece. Just the sheer volume of what they're finding in the material culture and archaeological sites that attest to synchronisms from the material culture in the Bible. I wish everyone could feel what I felt as I walked into that site, and to feel just the weight and the enormity of there is so much here, and such a great percentage of it speaks to a united monarchy and the biblical text being validated. There's a lot more to do, but I think this was a great first step in trying to answer this question.
I'm Craig.
And I'm Stu, and we're the founders of Appian Media.
We really hope that you've enjoyed the content that you've just seen. This was only made available through the generous donations of so many of you.
We believe that the world should have biblically accurate, visually engaging content about the Bible, and it should be free for everyone.
We would encourage you to visit the membership page of appianmedia.org and consider becoming a reoccurring member. Everything that you donate to Appian Media is tax deductible.
However you decide to donate, we really appreciate your support.